when League of Nations observers would go and visit these orphanages, they would see lists, long lists of names of Armenian kids, Armenian children's names, Asadur, Hagop, that had been crossed out and then replaced with Muslim names. And so they understood that there was a concerted, official, governmental process to change Armenian children into Muslim Turkish children.
The result of one of those concerted official governmental processes was the creation of Antura Orphanage, spearheaded by the commander of the 4th Ottoman Army, Ahmad Jamal Pasha.
What Jamal Pasha was doing in effect was killing the children's identity by turning them into Turks, taking away their culture, their religion, their very names. They were ceasing to exist as Armenians. Probably not as cheap as killing them, but mass killing in a place like Lebanon, where it was a little bit more public, would have been more difficult.
Antura, a small town nestled between the cornucopia of the Mediterranean turquoise and the verdant pine forests of Mount Lebanon, was once home to 1,000 Armenian genocide orphans destined for Turkification. Missak Keleshian, a Silicon Valley electrical engineer, conducted thorough primary and secondary research and was able to conclude that the building currently used by the Antura Lazarite College in Lebanon was once under the Ottoman rule and a Turkification center for Armenian orphans.
According to Antura French College archives, there were 1,200 orphans, 200 of them being Kurds and Turks, and the rest Armenian children. Their ages between 3 to 14 years old.
In March of 2010, The Independent publishes an article penned by the award-winning British journalist Robert Fisk under the title of Living Proof of the Armenian Genocide. In that article, Mr. Fisk provides details of Mr. Keleshian's findings. He describes how Mr. Keleshian was able to trace a photo in a rare book called Lions of Marash, written by a Near East relief officer, Stanley Kerr.
This was the key element for my research, because I looked for the French College of Antura in Lebanon, and I did find the main entrance, and I was able to stand exactly at the same spot where Jamal Pasha stood. And it was an amazing discovery to find the exact location where in 1916, commander of the 4th Army in Syria, Jamal Pasha, with Halide Edip, the director of the college, were standing side by side. And here I am, standing at the same exact position.
What Missak did is he found a location and he found documents and he found photographs and he put them all together, so it became a real, alive issue. What was so significant about it is that you could talk to people who knew where corpses of children were buried. You could actually go to the place where they were buried. You could see the church behind them. You could see the place where the Turks insisted that Muezzin called the morning prayer after Islamicizing the Christian college at Antura.
According to journals of the Lazarite Fathers found at the Antura orphanage, the Turkification process called for all male orphans to be circumcised. All the orphans were taught the Turkish language and cultural values in an effort to strip them of their true cultural identity.
Here again we see a picture right at the entrance with lots of Turkish flags, all the Turkish dignitaries with Halide Edip in the middle and Fauzi Bey on her left-hand side. We also see flowers in front of children, trying to portray that this orphanage was an excellent orphanage. As you can see, both sides of the picture, there are those arched windows, and right in the middle we can read 1898. And here it is today, the same spot with the same windows and the entrance door with the 1898 right on top of the arch.
Halide Edib Adibar, one of the most prominent women of the Ottoman era, was appointed the directress of the orphanage by Cemal Pasha.
Halide Edib narrates in her autobiography printed in 1926 that sometimes in the middle of the meals, when the children seemed happiest, one of the little ones would suddenly begin to cry. It was a screeching, cutting cry which lasted for hours, no doubt caused by some association with their home. Also, that one felt that these children, whatever happened, would carry something crippled, something mutilated in them.
Jesus Gott sing, ach absos vor jeder sehr. Mors am Puiden, Jesus Gott sing, ach absos vor jeder sehr.
Old archives found in the library of Antura College, including photos, handwritten documents, and memorabilia, prompted Mr. Keleshian to yet another discovery, the memoirs of Carnegie Panian, one of the orphans at the Antura orphanage.
You see, you can either kill a people, or you can totally take away their identity and inject them with a new one, which is what was happening at Antura. And effectively you have killed them, because you've killed their race, you've killed their religion, you've killed their culture, you've killed their name. Of course, the children were treated so badly in Antura that some of them died there. We know from actual survivors' accounts that some of the children were going and actually trying to grind up the bones of other dead children who had died in the forest of hunger and eat what was left of the bones to try and stay alive. Almost a form of cannibalism. That shows what happened.
Carnegie Panian, orphan number 551, was renamed Mahmud. He arrived at Antura in 1916 at age 6.
When we were little, my sister and I, during dinner or lunchtime, when we didn't finish our food, my father used to say, "God will be unhappy with you." When I was a little boy in the orphanage, there were days when I was obliged to grind bones and eat bones in order to survive, sometimes grass. And he said, I didn't know if these bones were animal bones or the bones of my fellow orphans, because those who perished in that orphanage, they were thrown in a pit, and at night animals used to come and eat their flesh.
In his memoirs, Mr. Panian writes, "At every sunset, in the presence of over 1,000 orphans, when the Turkish flag was lowered, 'Long live General Pasha' was recited. That was the first part of the ceremony.
And after that, it was time for punishing the children for what they have done, which was daring to speak Armenian or making any Christian references, say by crossing their heart or stealing food to eat. And all these acts were punishable by falakha. Falakha, which is a Turkish Ottoman way of punishment, by hitting the soles of the punished individual using an iron rod or a stick. They tied the feet of the victim to a stick which was held up by two individuals, and the third one would strike the souls of the victim using an iron rod to inflict maximum pain. In this case, the victims were children aged 3, 4, 5, and sometimes 10 years old, who would call for their dead mothers in unbearable pain.
Out of the 1,000 Armenian children at Antura orphanage, only 456 survived. Hundreds died as a result of deplorable conditions at the orphanage. The remains of over 300 orphans were discovered in 1993, when the Lazarite Fathers began construction for new classrooms. The remains found in the foundation of the college were moved to a mass grave on the grounds of the college cemetery, unmarked, carrying no epitaph. In September of 2010, through the efforts of the Kohar Ensemble and its benefactor, the Khachaturian family, a special monument was erected at the Antura Cemetery in memory of the 300 Armenian orphans. The monument is topped by a replica of the crown donned by the last Armenian king, Levon V. Underneath the crown lies the Cilician Armenian coat of arms, the roaring lion. It represents a symbolic posthumous inauguration, honoring the 300 Armenian genocide orphans as Armenian kings. Nearly 2,000 community members and dignitaries gathered for the inauguration of the site to pay respect for the souls of the 300 Armenian orphans. A special requiem service officiated the opening of the monument, followed by a special performance of Armenian liturgy by the Kohar Ensemble under the direction of Maestro Sebu Apkarian. Today, the Antura Monument is a pilgrimage site visited by thousands who travel from around the world to come and honor the memory of the orphaned Armenian children of Antura. They come to touch their epitaph and to feel their sorrow, giving voice to the silenced crime committed nearly 100 years ago and still left unrecognized.
Աշխարհ որից եդուր արև երթամ ննչել զիմգիլիգյա աշխարհ որից եդուր